Welcome to another episode of Shooting the Shit with literary agents Carly Waters and CeCe Lyra, where we dissect publishing gossip, discuss book industry trends, and the overall state of the book business. If you've ever wanted to grab a coffee with two literary agents, grab your mug and pull up a chair. Everybody, we're going to play a fun version of this episode, including where are CeCe and I in the world right now? Where did we just come from? Are we prepared? Are we not prepared for this episode? We will see. It's a bit of a wild card today. CeCe, where are you right now?
Is there even a thing as prepared in an episode called Shoot the Shit? Like, I feel like we're always prepared because we're just shooting the shit. I'm in New York right now, but I know you just came from Dallas. Is that right?
I did. Yeah, I just got back from DFW Con. I did the keynote on Saturday at lunch. I love doing keynotes. I think they're fun. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. Of course, my stomach's roiling a little bit, but it's totally fine and normal and healthy to, push ourselves into new directions and ourselves. So I love that for myself. Had a lot of fun. Everybody there is so nice. I'd been to that conference before. I'm trying to figure out, and you guys can obviously comment on YouTube, or DM us, but I'm trying to figure out how to use the keynote that I did. So the keynote that I did was on AI and authors and, just bringing everybody up to date about where everything is with the court cases and just strategy and philosophy about why I think that writers should not be using AI and kind of backing it up with data and information. So that was kind of the framework for the keynote. And so I was trying to figure out, should I potentially record it again and give it to our Tuesday subscribers for our newsletter? That was an idea that I had.
Yes, I'm deciding. Yes.
Okay. Send us a comment either in the YouTube DM or the YouTube comment section, or DM us. But I think I'm going to do that. I was thinking about doing, on Instagram, how you can do a carousel, kind of like essay style. I was thinking about that, but yeah, I might record it for us, for our Tuesday subscribers. But anyway, Let me know what you guys think about that.
Send us a comment agreeing with me because I'm right. No, yes, it's going to be great. You're going to record it and I'm going to have fun watching it. I didn't get to go, but I saw a bunch of people posting about it, posting really cute pictures of you speaking, and it was fun. And yeah, I saw even quotes that people posted. So yes,
I was quotable. Yeah, somebody came up to me after. They were like, I was taking notes and I didn't know this one word that you said. So I got out my notes and filled in the gap for them. So they're like, okay, great. I'm saving this. So yeah, so it's a quotable keynote, I think, and very relevant. So yeah, I'd love to get that to you guys. So that's what I did. So I flew out Friday morning. I was in Dallas, Fort Worth area by, let's say, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. And so I hung out on the Friday night. The Saturday night I was working at the conference. And then my flight was Sunday at 7 a.m. out of Dallas, Fort Worth. So I was barely on the ground 48 hours. But I checked out the Fort Worth stockyards with my client, Anna Mitchell. We had breakfast and kind of walked around and hung out, which was really great.
Did you eat good food?
I did. Yeah, I did. This conference is really good about taking the agents, they call them the VIPs, to offsite locations so that we can get great food and chat. We can also talk a little bit about how it works from the agent side at conferences, because usually somebody picks me up at the airport, from the conference. It's an opportunity for volunteers to get a little bit of extra face time with the agents. John was my wrangler. John picked me up from the airport. He's like, I'm wearing a blue Mets hat. Tell me what he's wearing. He grabbed my bag, brought me back. So he brought me to In-N-Out Burger so I could eat some lunch, because I hadn't eaten lunch because my flight was a little delayed, and brought me back to the conference. And so a lot of conferences like this do a great job of just giving the agents a wrangler, also to make sure that the agent shows up where they're supposed to show up, obviously. But I always appreciate it because they make sure I'm fed and watered and where I need to be. So CeCe, do you have the same when you do conferences?
This doesn't apply to you, but for me, the wrangler is very important because I am very spatially navigationally challenged, as you know.
Yeah. Yes.
Do not know where I'm going ever. In my own neighborhood, I get lost. It doesn't matter. So yeah, wranglers, we appreciate you.
We do, yes. And obviously, since it was in Texas, being called the Wrangler was obviously just right on point. So it was great. So that was my experience. And so CeCe, you're in New York. What are you up to this week in New York?
So I have a very meeting heavy week. So we're recording this it's 1 p.m. It's 1 p.m. Yeah, I had a breakfast meeting and 2 coffee meetings. I am very caffeinated. No complaints here. Love being caffeinated. I do switch to decaf as of the second cup, but it still has a little bit of caffeine. Also ate a lot of cookies. And my film and TV meeting was so much fun. I mean, we're not going to use names but you know who it was with because it's the same person we all. Yeah,
I know exactly who it is, and she's great.
Yes, and she's great, and it was so much fun. And Yeah, we talked about the industry and we talked about how, in publishing and in film and TV adaptations of books, you have this idea that, this doesn't sell. Like, I'll just give you an example. Historical fiction doesn't sell. It's really hard to adapt. It's really tough. It's expensive. You have the settings, the costumes, the cars, all these things to change, and that costs a lot of money. And then, of course, she just had a huge auction for a historical fiction project.
Of
So
course.
there's this idea where it's like, oh, this doesn't sell. And then it does.
But except when it does. Yeah.
Because exactly, right? And it's like this whole huge industry of what did she say? I'm actually going to look at my little notebook. She said, this was so funny. She's like, it's always the unsellable that sell for big numbers.
Yeah.
And I
Because
actually
everybody's
wrote
saying what
that
they
down.
don't want, and then all of a sudden somebody wants
Yeah.
that, and they're like, well, that's because nobody else wanted it, so now I can have
And
it.
then also, like, we might say what we want and don't want, but at the end of the day, a talented author will serve us what we did not know we wanted,
Mhm.
right? We had no idea. And I was actually thinking about this as I was like thinking back of like coming back, recording this, and bringing my notebook. I think that if I were to lose this notebook, and Carly, your notebook is the same because I've seen it, people would think that we're like psychopaths.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there are things here like loves murder, because we're writing about fiction, right? Loves murder, really into psychotic voices. What does this even mean? Really into psychotic voices. I know what it means. But imagine someone picking up this notebook, any literary agent's notebook. Oh gosh, it would be really fun. It would be
That's
really,
funny.
really hilarious.
Yeah. So my notebook is like broken up by the days of the week, but I never write in the right day. I'm just like, it's
Yeah.
completely diagonal.
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
don't know what's wrong with me.
No, it's not wrong with you. You're a free thinker. You're a free thinker. It's wonderful. Yeah, I have a bunch of meetings. We're going to celebrate as an agency, everyone at Wendy Sherman. We're going to celebrate 25 years on Thursday, so I'm excited for that.
Yay.
Yeah, just very meeting heavy week. And it's a very sunny week today. Like the sun is out, at least now. I'm pretty sure it's going to rain on Wednesday. So I have my hats, my big hats, and I'm walking around the city with my big hats. Yeah.
I'm like, when it's sunny, you're wearing a hat. When it's rainy, you're wearing a hat. You're just all about
Yes.
your hats. Yeah.
But I get to like look less weird, I think, when it's sunny and wearing a hat. Just look a little bit less weird. No one else is like.
Yeah,
I think
you're
we should bring back hats. Hats are fun. And
I
hats
love
are cute.
hats.
Yeah, we
I
should
agree.
bring
I've
back
always been a
hats.
hat person. We can't wear them on the show, obviously, because of these headphones. But if you see us in the wild, let us know how you feel about hats. So we got some really interesting DMs. So one of the reasons we didn't overly prepare for today's episode was because we had some juicy DMs in the vault, let's just say, that we'd kind of been holding back to chat about. And I'm excited about these juicy ones, and that we can kind of go a little deeper on them, go in some different directions. And we love hearing juicy details where you're like, is this right? Is this in the gray zone? Is this ethical? Or, how do you feel about this very, very complicated subject? And again, one of those things that we can't always tackle in a very specific Q&A type of episode, but we can kind of freewheel a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Which one do you want to do first?
Ooh, I don't know. Why don't we start with the first one?
Alrighty. So I'm going to read this and I will make sure to anonymize anything in case there's anything to anonymize.
Mhm.
This person says hi and says that we're really great and compliments us, which thank you. My ego is very happy. And she's just saying she likes the new segment. A question. Looking at the newsletter, great article re digital first publication. My UK agent has told me my supernatural thriller based in a very specific location, which to me sounds very appealing actually, may go direct to digital first, right? May go to digital first. If I'm even lucky to get a deal, that is. I was hoping to debut with a traditional deal. I'd love to know your thoughts on digital first. And this person says we've met at a conference. So yay. And I didn't remember them when I saw their profile, but after clicking on their profile and going through their pictures, not in a weirdo way, this person has an open account. I did remember them from the conference.
Awesome. Yeah. This is a really interesting question. I think my answer to this has changed as things like this do over the years. It also depends on like who the digital first publisher is, right? I think there's a lot of like ifs, ands, buts to kind of link all of the different variables of this conversation together. So digital first, just so we can maybe start with some definitions, so just everybody's on the same page, right? So digital first means that you do a book deal with a publisher knowing that they are a digital first publisher, meaning they're going to do ebook or digital audio, and not necessarily print. So this says digital first, but kind of means like essentially digitally exclusively, unless there might be a huge demand for the book to be done in a traditional print run, or there's a POD, print on demand component to it where people can still order a physical copy, but it is POD, it's print on demand. It's not actually like a print run that was done. Obviously, this is a cost saving measure, I'm sure, as you guys can imagine. Some categories do a bit better in digital anyway. Some of the things to run through about digital first are the royalties are usually higher because they know that this is potentially a bit more risky for the author. You know, they're foregoing a traditional book deal. Therefore, they're trying to incentivize authors a bit more. So the royalties can be anywhere, again, depending on the publisher. I'm not going to name names because this person isn't either. It really could be anywhere from 35 to 60%, kind of in that frame. Obviously, CeCe, if you've seen or heard otherwise, let me know. But it depends on, yeah, it depends on a few things.
I don't actually think I've seen higher than 50. It's great to know that sometimes
Yeah.
60 happens. Yeah.
Obviously there's, escalators and other things that can come into play. So again, really depends on the publisher. So just so you guys know, this is dramatically higher than traditional publishing because traditional publishing does ebook royalties at 25% net. And this is all still net, but potentially up to 50 to 60% net, which is obviously double potentially of what traditional publishers are giving you. So it's riskier for you. Obviously, you're starting your career in a digital first space. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different angles we can take with this conversation. It's like, is this the right choice for you? Yeah.
When it comes to the royalties, it's also important to know that like some digital first publishers, maybe even many, I've never counted, they sell their ebooks at a lower rate, like a lower price point, I should
Yeah, like
say.
a
And
4.99. Yeah.
exactly, so you're getting, let's say you're getting 50% royalties, you're getting 50%. And you have to take into consideration like what the book is sold for, right? Because it's 50% of something, and then it can be net, it could be like etc. So that matters too. Like the price point's different. When ebooks became a thing, I mean, there was a scare, ebooks are going to replace print books, all that. That didn't happen. But I remember reading an article way, way back before I was a literary agent. I was just always interested in reading. I remember reading an article about how, if a book was sold for, at the time it was $1.99, certain categories could have great sales because people were willing to take a chance on a $1.99 ebook. Books are expensive. Not everyone wants to spend $30 on a book. And so that's another thing to consider when you think about the royalties. But again, I don't want us to get like too lost in the economics of it, because the question is, I mean, this person who reached out to us, thank you for reaching out to us, by the way. Thank you for sharing and for asking that question. You're saying, hey, I want a traditional deal, right? Because that's where your heart's at. And if I were speaking with you, which I guess I am in a sense, my first question to you would be like, have you examined this? I am not pro digital first, but I'm also not anti digital first, because I think that it's, as agents, it's our job to learn what the market is doing, to always, be aware of new forms of publishing and of getting the word out there on a book, and not being, I guess, a blanket statement like pro or anti doesn't really work. I think what works is it depends on the case. It depends on the author. It depends on the book. It depends on the moment. It depends on so many things. And you're saying, I really want trad. And like, that's really cool if you've examined this. My first question is, have you examined this? Or is it just like a knee-jerk reaction? Knee-jerk reactions are often unconscious reactions. Shout out to my fabulous client, Dr. Courtney Tracy, the truth doctor online, for teaching me all about the unconscious. But no, seriously, like our first, like, no, I don't want this. It often comes from a place that we haven't examined. So I would examine that. Maybe you do want it, maybe you don't want it. And to know, you should research digital first. And of course, we're going to talk about it here too.
Yeah, like a number of things we can do, right? You can talk to other authors on that imprints list, either like through your agent or through the publisher or in DM. Like ask for other people's experiences because every publisher is different in terms of these experiences. So just make sure you go in like super eyes wide open. That's very important. The other thing is, you said that you're hoping to debut with a traditional deal. You still can. Like this book can sit in the desk for a little while. You don't have to publish that book now. You could go work on something else and debut traditionally and then make another decision about this. If you feel like it's just so timely, then I think you need to ask yourself, what is that urgency telling you? Where is that urgency coming from? Is the urgency just you wanting to be published and therefore this is the book that's available and the deal could potentially be digital first and therefore that feels like the right choice when it's actually not the right choice? The right choice could be, let's put the brakes on it, let's work on another book, traditionally debut with that, and then decide if potentially someday down the line that you might want to do that one digital first. So I would say also examine the urgency and where that urgency is coming from
Mm.
and what actually would be the right choice.
I think that is so wise. Thank you for saying that. I also encourage listeners to check out my interview with Marjan, author of The Lion Woman of Tehran. It hasn't come out yet. So by the time this episode comes out, it will not have come out yet, I'm pretty sure, but it will be coming out soon. She talks about how, people say life is short. She's like, no, life is long. That's the mentality you have to have for
Mhm.
publishing, because life is short makes you anxious and it makes you need to, I must be
Mhm.
published by 30, by 40, whatever. And like, no, you must be published when your story is ready to be published. Anyway, I love that you said that. I also think it's important to remember that this person does not have a digital first deal or offer in front of her.
Yeah.
I want to say a few things. I have seen clients, Carly, I know you've seen this too, be like, I don't want digital first. And then after their book doesn't sell in traditional publishing, I guess, they go, okay, digital first, fine. And then they still don't get an offer. I want to be really honest about this. It's still really hard to get a digital first offer.
Mhm.
It's not a situation where it's like, oh, it's the easy route. Like,
Great point.
publishers are discerning. Publishers, they want great stories. They still reject most of the things they get because they get way too many things. They can't publish all these books. The fact that it is digital first does
Yeah.
not mean that it's easy to
Yeah.
get. And I really want people to know this.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that because I'm just like nodding along. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm like frantically nodding because a lot of people think like it is a, second tier, third tier in their mind, right? But these digital first
Mm-hmm.
publishers do want to be chosen by you for a reason. And if you have a track record, they also want to know about that. So I know this person's debut, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
talking in general. And the other thing is a lot of imprints and publishers that are very digitally focused actually don't want a debut author because they don't have a track to then like support into the metadata and into the ecosystem to justify, because we know how hard launching a debut is, and launching a debut in
Mm-hmm.
digital first doesn't really actually make it any easier. That's another
Mm-hmm.
point I want to make really clear. So like
It's a
debut is
great
hard no
point.
matter what. There's
No
obviously tons of
matter what.
upside, but in digital first they sometimes can see that as a bit of a challenge because there's no kind of like nothing sticky online to like gravitate to and pick up on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to talk about, I think this question gives us this opportunity. This has always been on my mind. So this person says, my agent told me that my story may go to digital first if I'm even lucky to get a deal.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really great opportunity to talk about like how agents set expectations with their clients. And this reminds me of it was a tweet. This was back when Twitter was still Twitter. This was many years ago. I was already an agent. I genuinely think this was like 4 years ago, maybe 5. There was a tweet by a person who said, and again, their tone was ambitious, frustrated. Their tone was very much like, I'm a go getter, I'm going to make things happen. I'm paraphrasing, but the tweet said something like, I just signed a contract that my former literary agent told me I would never sign. I would probably never sign. I don't know why agents do this. I don't know why you keep telling authors that, it's hard. Stop saying that. Get out of the way and let success happen. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I do remember
Hmm.
some parts of it very vividly, but the idea behind this person who was being vulnerable, right? Like she was being vulnerable. She wasn't naming names or anything, but she was saying, look, book deals happen. She didn't say what the deal was she had signed. Like my mind went to film and TV, but whatever it was, great things happen in the publishing industry. But as agents, a huge part of our job is to manage our clients' expectations. It's to tell our clients, look, just so the stats are really hard. It's really hard. We just did it. We just said, just so you know, digital first is not easy. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean you will for sure get an offer. And I think that it's really interesting how each agent approaches managing expectations. Because the truth is, and I feel very strongly about this, Carly, and I'm so curious about your thoughts. So much of it depends on the person you're talking to. Obviously, the moment too. But like, there are people who, if you tell them it's hard, these are the stats, this is how often things get rejected, this is how often an R&R turns into an offer versus doesn't. If you give them information on how competitive and hard it is, they take that as, okay, gotcha. I'm readjusting, I'm recalibrating. I'm still going to go. Like their drive will not change at all. It might even somehow increase. Their strategy changes, but their passion doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily. I mean, if it does, it increases. And there are people who hear that and it almost feels like throwing a bucket of cold water on them. They go, oh, that's really discouraging. And they become sometimes paralyzed, sometimes irritated and frustrated. And also caveat that you can have more than one reaction. You can feel frustrated and then pivot to the super ambitious growth. But I just mean like long-term reaction. And I think that it really depends on the person and depends on
Hmm.
how you frame things, of course. But when your agent says to you, "Hey, it might be digital first," I mean, one thing they might be doing too is having a conversation with you. Carly and I are the same in this because we've shared works together. Before submitting to publishers, we talk to our authors about what are your expectations? What are your goals? We will not submit to digital first publishers if clients aren't interested in that. Fair. But sometimes when we manage expectations, what we're trying to do is protect you. Yes, but honestly, 90% of it is empower you. It's empower you with the knowledge that you need to succeed in this market, because too often people approach publishing kind of like they do at school. They think if they work really hard, they'll get an A, and if they follow the assignment, they'll get an A. And publishing is not school. Publishing is, and I'm not saying school is also always easy, but publishing is a competitive industry. Like, more people get rejected than not.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest parts of our job is kind of what I call the code switching. It's like we're constantly code switching
Mm-hmm.
between all of these
Mm-hmm.
situations. And there's a lot of responsibility and pressure on an agent to, like, this client needs to be talked to this way, and this client needs this. And this
Yeah,
evolves over time with the amount of education and information that they get about the business. Then I can start to talk to them in a different way the more information that they have. So all of this also changes over time.
for
And this is also part
sure.
of the trust building, because
Mm-hmm.
I can give them all this information, and then I need them to trust me that we are making the collective decision together. And it's just, yeah, it's something that you learn as an agent, because I think one of the hard things is when a client really, 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 really wants something and the agent's like, I actually don't think that's the best move for you. As an agent, do I do what the client wants to happen? Or do I say, okay, maybe it's time for you to have another agent? Because just because you
Yeah.
want that, does that align with what my core values are as an agent? And so those are
Yeah.
some really complicated conversations have too.
For sure. It's why it's so important to have like open communication. But like, I guess our takeaways are: examine your goals, make sure your goals are conscious and mindful, talk to your agent, and remember, all of publishing is competitive. All of publishing is competitive. We work really hard to manage clients' expectations and also like the writing community's expectations too. I think about that a lot when we record our other segment, right? Like Books with Hooks. I want to be honest and I want to say what works and doesn't and how hard things are, but I don't want to depress anyone. It's so hard. It's so hard.
It's a fine line. But it's one of those things,
Fine
like, both,
line.
it's one of those both can be true things, right? It can be really
Hmm.
hard and also be great.
This is really hard and great.
We're back. I know I was speaking earlier about the newsletter and how much great stuff is going in there in terms of things we have planned. CeCe, do you have the list in front of you? Because we have some awesome stuff coming up.
Yes. Okay. This is really exciting, actually, because there's a book called The Gallery Assistant by Kate Belly. So, Kate is sharing how she got her yes after like a 2-year submission process filled with rejection. And she flipped genres to get to where she is now. I'm really excited to read this book. So, thank you, Kate, for contributing to our newsletter. And I really am looking forward to reading your work. And I think you guys will like it too. Crystal Schuyler, author of A Most Peculiar Poisoning, is sharing an author video. I love author videos, they're so fun. It's filled with advice about creating the kind of atmosphere that does more than just bring setting to life. Setting to life is really important, and so is apparently persistence, because that's her angle in this author video. Also, USA Today and #1 Amazon best-selling author Trilina Pucci, author of One Killer Night, is sharing a ton of excellent advice in the author Q&A, including how literary foreplay can get the reader in the mood for the good stuff. I like this. I'm always saying storytelling is seduction, so I am very pro this. And finally, Mark Waddle, author of Colin Gets Promoted and Dooms the World, expands on Friday's essay with a bonus tip about how to write morally gray characters that readers will root for. I know our newsletter is good because as I am reading promos for it, I'm excited to read it. And I'm impatient because I have to wait. This is how I know stuff is good.
All right, I'm going to read the next one. It is a lengthy one, so again, going to have to paraphrase a little bit here. So, this is kind of a larger topic around when somebody wins a package. You guys know what I'm talking about, when it's like, okay, a manuscript critique or an editorial letter or an A&A Zoom or a brainstorming session. When there's a fundraising thing going on, I usually offer like a 30-minute AMA Zooms, that type of thing. And it's usually to raise money for something, or it could just be to pay, or bid for this opportunity. So this person says they had an opportunity where they won they're calling it a significant package. So, and I'm looking at it here, it's like multiple of the things that I just mentioned. Since signing the contract, there's a contract, the start date had come and gone, and this person hasn't heard back regarding this package. So I guess they won the package, a contract was signed, and they haven't heard back from this person. They are worried that something happened to this editor. They're concerned about it. They reached out to the organization that put the pitch package together, asked if they were still working. The response from the organization was, "Thank you for reaching out. The organization hadn't heard from so and so in a few weeks, but also they aren't involved in the kind of professional business contractual element of this once it leaves the contest's hands." So they are kind of saying like that's where the line is. Once it moved out of their hands, it's not in their hands anymore. And they hope that it gets resolved, even though it was organized through this contest. So this person obviously has some questions for us. Basically, they want to know from us. They understand ghosting on querying, but for a competition, is this normal? What do you think about the organizers of this? Do you think that answer was okay? Do they have a responsibility to uphold the contracts and kind of quote unquote prizes that are paid for or won, obviously, through these organizations? So this is a kind of a juicy one. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but CeCe, why don't you kick us off here?
I will kick us off doing the CeCe thing where I zero in on one word and I would like to challenge this lovely word to this lovely person. I know you didn't mean it in this way, but like you're calling it ghosting on cold querying. It's not ghosting. It's not ghosting, okay? If I send out my resume to a company and the company doesn't invite me for an interview and just has a very clear line that says, "We thank all applicants for your applications, but only those who make it to the interview will be contacted," that is not ghosting.
Okay, CeCe, you're
And I
getting
know
off topic. We we understand.
it's not ghosting. Okay, no, but seriously, I feel very strongly that the competition should make it right for you. I do. And they can't force this person to be a responsible human and get back to you. Also, something genuinely serious might have happened to this person. So they might not be able to literally substitute the prize, but they should give you a prize. Like they should find a way to make it right. This actually has happened quite similarly with our business. We've had situations where a prize was offered through I don't remember whether it was podcast or media or deep dive, like I don't remember, but like through one of our channels, and the person couldn't honor the prize and we gave them a different prize. I know it's not the same. Like in this case, the person in a very lovely way said the second prize was even better. So she was really happy. But
Well, that's up to the business to go above and beyond to make it right for their
yeah.
quote unquote customer. Yeah.
But what if this is like their dream editor? Like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe it won't be just as good, but it should be similar. It should be similar. Like I
Yeah.
think that if they offered this as part of a prize, I feel very strongly that they have to make it right. And it's not
Mhm.
okay. And them saying like, "We hope this gets resolved," like turn that hope around and resolve it,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
use that hope as fuel so you can resolve it. No, I feel very strongly they have to make it right.
Oh, I totally agree. I think this contest made a poor decision in how they responded. And hopefully, maybe somebody's hearing this and maybe knowing that they are part of this organization. Because, yeah, to me, this is a customer service and a brand issue. It's so much larger than this, right? Because now you have this person who has a negative experience with your contest. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
word's going to get around, right? If somebody has a bad experience with your brand or your product, word's going to get around. I want to rewind a little bit. So when I do these types of things, I kind of explained before, like, so people reach out to me all the time. WFWA, Women's Fiction Writers Association, I'll often give something for that. I'll often give something for like BIPOC people in publishing in Canada. They do a giveaway. I'll often do the ALA. It will also do one as well. So there's like a few organizations that I really make sure that I give my time to. And what I always offer, because it's kind of just easiest in a number of capacities, is I offer a 30-minute AMA Zoom. And why this is easy for me is because I have a link that I can send to the organization that says, when this contest closes, you send this link to them. This person fills in all this information. Because sometimes, honestly, we are so busy. If somebody reached
Yeah.
out to me being like, "I won this," I just need a proper channel, right? So there could be, and I'm not making excuses for this person that's been ignored, but the reason I choose things that are really straightforward is I never want anybody to get lost in this process, because I know as an agent, the authors have this, when they have an experience with me, whether it is querying me or whether it is winning a contest with me, that it's always going to stick in their mind about like how they felt and how that agent made them feel. And so I take that responsibility really seriously. So it worries me a little bit
Yeah.
that this organization isn't taking this really seriously because it's reputationally for this company, for the industry. Anyway, I could go on and on about why I think they need to make it right, but I definitely think there's a responsibility if an organization offers something and it can't go through for whatever reason, that they do offer something else.
For sure. No, for sure. And there are many things that they could offer that would, again, make the author feel like they were properly taken care of. So yeah, thank you for reaching out with that question. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, this is no brainer. One thing I didn't get in that I wanted to was this word contract. This actually worries me a little bit because it says, since signing the contract, our start date has come and gone, and I haven't heard from them. That part worries me a little bit as well, because I actually think that makes this organization even more vulnerable, that they put this person in a situation where they then had to sign a contract for winning something. So I don't know. Again, I'm not the legal person, but I think there is a liability here of, again, you put this person in a situation where they had to sign a contract, and we don't know what the ins and outs of the contract are, but usually there's a, like, if somebody can't complete the thing, there's like an out of some kind, right? Or anyway, I think this is
A fair
actually
contract probably would have that, right? Like one
yeah,
feels that way. Yeah, there's just, I mean, also contracts aren't like I've never, entered into a contract for a prize that I've won. Like I've never
right. That's
had
weird to
the
me. Yeah,
Yeah, but maybe it's a situation where a contract does make sense. Like I could definitely see that there could be that, and fine, but like, we don't know any of the specifics, but we do know
yeah.
that when an organization offers a prize like that and the prize isn't honored, it's up to the organization to make it okay.
Yes, we are in agreement on that. Okay, so I think those were most of our juicy DMs. Cece, was there anything else that we hadn't chatted about?
No, we got through it today pretty quickly. Today's going to be a short shoot the shit episode. Just a reminder, you guys can DM us.
I think I scared everybody from DMing me, so everybody's DMing Cece.
I don't necessarily respond to everyone, but I see every single one of them. I take a screenshot, I keep it in a little folder, and when it's time for us to discuss the content, we do. And as you can see, we keep it anonymous. If anyone does want me to read out their names, you should explicitly say that, and we will. That's totally fine. And yeah, there's just a lot that we could talk about. Publishing is a very juicy industry, so that should be fun.
Yes. Well, I hope everybody's having a great, busy fall. Us in publishing are super busy. I tried this new thing. I know I'm not going to show you guys because it has information on it, but I got these like mirror markers. And so I've been using these mirror markers to write down like all of the reading I have to do, the contracts I have, the pitches I'm working on, who's under option, who's in acquisitions meetings. Anyway, so I have this like, those like crazy boards with all the arrows. My reading list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 clients and referrals. And so I've been working through them throughout the fall. So I've stricken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My boards are just like, So I have tons of clients and
That's super
referrals
fun.
waiting for me to read their stuff. Trying to finish closing a deal today, trying to work on a contract tomorrow. So yeah, publishing is just bonkers. And next week is Frankfurt Book Fair. So that's another, is it next week? Yeah, because it's after Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. So it's Frankfurt Book Fair next week. So tons of busy stuff going on around here. And CeCe, enjoy your week in New York.
Thank you. Enjoy your week. Yeah, books are fun. That is the biggest takeaway. I will now head into my endless string of meetings, which I love, and I'll keep you guys posted on how many books I come back with because that's the best part.
Make some bets, guys. Make some bets. I've seen her pile. So when we recorded in New York last time, we actually used her book stack
Yeah,
as
you
a
were in town.
pile
Yeah,
to record, put the mic on to record the
yeah,
episode. That's how big the stack was. So put
yeah.
some bets. How many books does CeCe come back with every New York trip? Yes. Well, have a great week, everybody. See you next time.
CeCe Lira is a literary agent at Wendy Sherman Associates. If you'd like to query CeCe, please refer to the submission guidelines at www.wsherman.com. Carly Waters is a literary agent at PS Literary Agency, but her work on this podcast is not affiliated with the agency, and the views expressed by Carly on this podcast are solely that of her as a podcast co host and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, policies, or position of PS Literary Agency.